Everyone, I'm Gnarly, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to be looking at finding an idea and working with it. In production, sometimes the hardest part is starting and finding an idea to get that music making flowing. There's a lot of different places that you can draw inspiration from, whether it's a book you're reading, a film you've been watching, a song that you've been hearing on the radio, things in your day-to-day life. You can draw inspiration from those to start creating. So it might be the emotions that the main character is going through in the book you're reading. Perhaps it's the soundtrack in a movie, or it could be the chord progression that you've heard in your favourite song. Today, that's where my idea comes from. In a song I was listening to, I really like the chord progression in the intro, so I'm borrowing the first 4 chords from Steve Winwood's Higher Love. This song is from the 1980s. It's a synth pop, like pop rock kind of vibe. But I'm going to take those chords and I'm going to work with them and create a whole new vibe using them. So let's get started. Today I'm using Ableton Live. I have a fresh new project open. Before we get started, I'm going to set my tempo. So up here, I'm going to change this to 95 BPM because I think I'm going to go for a bit of a hip hop vibe. I'm going to keep it in 4/4 and I'm going to keep the same key of F major. So you notice here on the left hand side in my browser window, I've got a couple of presets already sorted. But if you're looking for presets, just remember your VST instruments, so virtual instruments, are here under the instruments tab. Just press the drop down arrow and you'll be able to double click or drag and drop any of these straight in. Same with audio effects, just go to the audio effects tab and then again you just want to click that drop down arrow and then here you've got a bunch of different presets that you can load in. The ones that I'm going to be using today, I've put them into my green collection up here so I can access them easily. The first thing I'm going to start with is that chord progression. So I've selected this piano sound inside Ableton and I'm just going to drag and drop that into my first MIDI track. I've got my MIDI keyboard set up here. So these are the chords. It's really nice and simple, and I'm going to go ahead and record those into the arrange page. Alright, that's recorded in really nicely. Let's double click into the MIDI and just quantize that. So I'm doing Command A, Command U to quantize, and let's have a listen. So this note's a bit early. I'm just going to select these and just move that chord over. Perfect. So that's my first track done. That's the chord progression. I'm also going to rename these as I go along. So I'm going to call this one chords. The next track I want to add in is going to be a drum rack. Let's go into our green collection and I'm going to use this decap kit. And I'm going to click and drag that onto the second MIDI track. When you're ready to record, just make sure that record arm button over here is on and then hit record. Turn record off, and again I just want to quantize. I might just draw in a couple of extra notes, so I want an extra kick there on the end. I might add a little bit more percussion, so with the rim shots as well. If there's a note already there, you just double click to delete it and then double click on an empty square to draw in a note. I also want to add in a little bit more percussion. So let's say up here with these congas, let's add a couple of these in. And I might move these just here. Nice, that's sounding great. So let's close this MIDI window. The master channel is going into the red, so we're starting to clip. So let's adjust some of these volume levels down a bit. As we've started to build the loop, this is a good time to save your project if you haven't already. File and save live set. Make sure you're naming it something memorable and hit save. Command S or Control S if you're on Windows regularly as you're working along. Let's add in a little bit more percussion over that drum track. This time, I'm going to use my microphone to record in some clap percussion. I'm going to select my microphone, so that's on 9 and 10. I'm going to hit that record arm button. I'll leave the monitor off. If you want to hear what you're recording, just make sure to turn that to auto. I'm going to turn off the record arm button. I'm going to change this to auto, and let's hear how those claps sound. So a couple of these are a little bit late, so I'm just going to trim these and move them over. I also want to move them in the stereo field. I'm going to use this panning control to move them over to the right a little bit. Let's move on to our next track, which is going to be another MIDI track. So I can delete this audio track, and this time I'm going to load in a bass sound, which is this sub-stomach preset. Let's go down a couple octaves. You notice I'm staying in this 2-bar loop. So what I like to do is actually build all the layers that I want to have in the track, just using a small loop. So 2, 4, or 8 bars. And then later on, we'll expand the arrangement. I'm going to turn that bass down a little bit. Next, we're going to add in a melody. As it's quite a harsh sound, what you can do to soften it is actually play with the frequency filter cutoff. So here where I've got the frequency setting, if I just bring that down a bit, it gets rid of that harsh high tone. I'm actually going to double the length of this. I'm going to do Command D, which will duplicate the loop. And then now I've got a 4-bar loop, which gives me a little bit more room to play around with the melody. Start adding some effects on here. Starting with the chords track, I'm just going to use that solo button and I'm going to add in a couple of effects on there. So starting with EQ, we're just going to use the presets here. So less low, more mid. Some compression. And then some reverb. Turn the wet down. So for my drums, I'm actually going to go into my audio effects tab, and under here you're going to find audio effect rack. So if we click into there, we actually have some preset effects chains. Let's add that in. The claps, tile room, so we get some nice kind of echoey. Let's turn down the wet. That sounds really nice with that reverb on there. Let's go onto our bass track. Again, I'm just going to go into that audio effects tab and we're going to find a effect rack. For my melody lead synth, going for this one, Stevie Blues Stack. Going to balance the mix here. So I'm going to bring all of my faders down to 0. So starting off, we're going to bring in our drums first. So let's hit that play button. Right about there. Let's bring in our bass next. Then our chords. Then our clap. Now our melody. That mix is sounding much better. One last layer that I'm going to add in here. So we've got our chords, drum, claps, bass, melody lead. I've also got a sample which I found on BandLab Sounds. I'm going to drag and drop that straight into my project here. So let's duplicate that so it just loops. And now we're going to turn this 4-bar loop into more of an arrangement. What I'll do is duplicate that over. So we're going to create 4 distinct sections here. And now we have 16 bars. So let's say the first 4 bars are going to be the intro. In these drums, I want to remove the hi-hat. So I'm just going to select those and delete them and remove the kick as well. I'm also going to change the color of this so that I can recognize it's something different. and we're going to duplicate that again. So that first 4 bars is just that section. I'm also going to remove the bass from this part and the lead synth. So for this second section, we're going to call this section A. I want the bass to come in and the main drum, so we'll keep that the same, and I'm just going to delete the synth lead. So that's going to come into my section B, which is the next part. And maybe I want to change something here a little bit as well. So we're going to go ahead and click into here, and this time I'm going to add some more hi-hats. So I'm just going to double click those in. So we've added a little bit more movement there. Again, I'm going to change the color of this to something different. And then for my outro section, which is the last part, I'm going to delete the lead synth. And then I'm also going to bring back these kind of sparser drums from the intro. I'm going to delete those claps. We've got 4 clear sections, just using that kind of 4-bar loop that we built earlier, just removing different parts so that we get a clear distinction in the arrangement and composition. Let's listen to it from the top. And that's how you can create a full production using a simple idea and sticking with it. Finding something really small like a chord progression, a drum pattern, or even a sample in a sample library can give you that spark that you need to get creating. So the next time you think of an idea or hear something that inspires you, why don't you take that and try building something out of it? Thanks so much for watching. I've been Gnarly, and I'll see you in the next one.